Well friends, the great search is finally at long last over. Frog Fractions 2 has been found, and it's right here. Unfortunately, the very last bit of the hunt has to be conducted individually by each person wanting to play Frog Fractions 2, and that's what we're gonna get through right here. If you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about, then just stay tuned, I'll explain it in a short time. But for now, let's actually get started with Glittermitten Grove here, and make a new village. We can randomize the name, so let's pick one that actually sounds fairly nice, kinda like Gentle Burrow. It's very peaceful, let's go with that. So here we have our basic fairy settlement and our supplies at the top here. Food for the fairies, wood for buildings, crystal for constructing more magical creations, and then sparkles for casting spells. So immediately we're gonna want to widen the scope of our playing field, shown by this light here, by planting a few new plants. We start with a few seeds, 2 of them, so we're gonna want to plant each of them on the very edge of our current area. There we go. Occasionally we'll be getting tips which we can bring up with tab. We'll be seeing a lot of this fairy lady as the game goes on, so get used to her. You'll notice that we have 3 fairies currently populating the village. All of the tasks that we want to perform, constructing buildings, digging for materials, chopping down trees, all that sort of stuff, require more and more fairies to perform, so we're going to want to make sure that there's plenty of fairies in our village. So the first type of building that we'll want to build is a house. As many as we can fit on the various trees and plants that we've got growing here, actually. That'll be what most of our initial stock of wood goes into. So, sight orbs are fairly expensive, but we are going to want to make a few of them. That'll expand the range of our vision. That's why I planted these plants on each side, because all of the things that you construct have to be put on a tree or a plant. You can't just place them on the ground for the most part. So, where is the sparkle stone, or whatever the hell it was called? It's somewhere here. There we go, sight orb. So let's place that on this branch over here. Unfortunately, it will take up most of our sparkles, so to get some of them back, let's construct a prism right here in the middle of the sunlight. Make sure that it gets the sunlight's full attention. If the prisms are not in direct sunlight, then they won't actually collect sparkles, meaning they'll be useless. Alright, so we're running low on wood here, so let's actually chop down this tree over here. That'll give us enough wood to last a while. Actually, that would be a bit of a waste since what we can't collect, what we can't store, just appears. So let's cancel that. I forget how you do that. Should be able to cancel it. There we go. Let's cut a little bit further up. That'll fill up our wood coffers for the most part. There we go. See? Now the range of our game field is extended considerably, and I can start tackling this tree over here in a little bit. There we go, now we have plenty of wood to construct more homes and other buildings. We're gonna need a lot more houses. We need 3 for our current resident fairies, and then more will attract more fairies to our settlement. So you do want to be a bit careful where you build the houses. If you make the trees too lopsided, they will collapse. So be mindful of where you place your constructions. Not quite enough wood. With the wood that this fairy is collecting, though, I think we'll have just enough that I can build another house. Perfect. Alright, so our sparkle counter has filled up by now, so it should be safe to place another sight orb. That'll expand our vision to the left side of the game screen, which should help a little. Thankfully, we don't have to worry about food too much. The 3 thimblewood plants that we planted, this one here, and this one over here, which doesn't seem to be growing too much. I guess it's not getting enough sunlight. I might want to cut down this tree, that might help. they're stocking the fairies with plenty of food, in fact, too much for us honestly. I might want to purchase a pantry to increase the amount of food I can hold. But I'll see about doing that in a little bit. Yeah, I think it would be a good idea to chop this tree down. It's kind of taking up all the sunlight that should be going to my thimblewood. In fact, I think the thimblewood I placed over here, I think it might actually be dead at this point. Oh well, at least it's serving a use to hold this side orb over here. So let's see, what do I want to do next? Oh, I don't think my prism over here is getting much in the way of direct sunlight due to the tree's continuing growth. So let's prune the tree a little, make sure I'm still collecting sparkles from this prism here. Otherwise, there was no use to be placing it there. That'll also give me a little bit more wood with which to construct more things. I'm not sure if I need to wait longer in order to attract more fairies, or if I need to place some more buildings. I might need a bit more food in order to attract more fairies, so let's place a pantry somewhere. Oh, I don't have quite enough wood. Since I only have 3 fairies, it takes a while to do all of the tasks, all the chopping of trees, and the collecting of the wood that falls from them. Alright, now I should have enough wood to build a pantry. There we go. Oh, I don't have very much in the way of sparkles. This happened the last time I played it, and I'm not sure why you start out with a high limit of sparkles that you can hold, and then it shrinks. I guess maybe that's just to give you a bit of an easier start so you can actually do some of the things that require sparkles. So I'm gonna need to immediately create a sparkle hut, which I have just enough crystal for, thankfully. Otherwise the prism I placed is gonna be completely worthless. Oh, speaking of which, you just returned that. I guess I must have cut a bit lower than I had intended and cut off the part of the tree that actually had the prism. That's fine though. We're gonna be here for a fair while. So I'm stocked up on wood. So are there any other buildings that would be worth making at this time? I guess I could do with a few more houses. See if that attracts any more fairies. Sadly, I've run out of seeds. And I won't be able to collect them for some time. The only place I found them is in treasure chests in the ground, which we're gonna have to get to doing a little bit of mining for both that and the crystal that's located under there. That's the main way you get more crystal to create some of the constructions. So let's see, what do I want to do? I'm still gonna need to wait for the construction of the sparkle hut in order to do anything with spells, which is the main way that you mine things. You don't do like little pickaxes, instead you just blow holes in the ground with the plant fireworks. So I'm gonna need to wait until I have more sparkles before I can make one of those. You require a minimum of 8 to cast fireworks, unfortunately. I apologize if I'm playing this a little bit inefficiently. I don't typically I don't typically play this genre of game, so I'm rather out of my comfort zone. I'm sure someone who's more familiar with this genre would probably be through this part already, but yeah, we're in it for the long haul. Hey, there we go. I guess with the homes I've constructed, I've now attracted more fairies, which is good. That means it'll take less time to do all of the tasks that we're gonna need to do. I might want to actually build a few more homes, see if I can attract a few more fairies. I have the wood to do so after all. Let's place a house on this side of the tree, help keep it from toppling over in this direction. And it might behoove me to cut this branch over here. It's blocking some of the light that should be going to the thimblewood here. If it doesn't get enough light, it'll end up dying, which would not be good for me. So let's take that out preemptively. Alright, good. I now have a decent amount of sparkle storage. So it's probably worthwhile to craft another prism. I think this tree has stopped growing at this point, so I should be able to place it at the top here, and it should get plenty of sunlight, at least I hope. I gotta say, I do love this game's music. It's very relaxing and very peaceful. I do need to look up who composed it. I believe the game's soundtrack actually has a variety of composers working on it, which is probably why it's so good. Too many cooks can spoil the broth, but just the right amount can make it all the better. There we go, now I finally have a prism working. And I can start collecting some more sparkles. As you can see, the counter steadily goes up. Might be worth constructing another prism when I get some more crystal, but for now I'll have to wait for it to just trickle in like this. Alright, now that I actually... oh, hold on, some of the sparkles were removed. That was rather odd. I'm still not sure why that happened. I guess they were probably added into the sparkle hunt, and that's why they were moved from the counter for the moment. I'm not sure. But at any rate, now I actually have enough to make a firework spell. So let's make sure we use this far away from our base of operations, just in case anything goes awry. We don't want all our houses destroyed after all. So fireworks require a minimum of 8 sparkles, but you can increase the effectiveness, give them more splitting patterns, which allows you to destroy more ground at the cost of more sparkles. Let's just stick with the default for now. And place one right here. This should give me access to both this crystal down here and this treasure chest. And then you can aim the direction it fires in. Not gonna want to aim it up. That would do no one any good. There we go. Now my fairies have access to this crystal here. I should be able to build another prism and increase my sparkle earnings by quite a bit. Let's actually build another firework spell right away, and this time aim it towards that treasure chest over there. It seems that this pattern isn't too terribly effective. It might also be because of this stone here. I think that might be a bit more difficult to destroy. That said, thankfully I have plenty of sparkles to experiment with. Plenty to craft as many firework spells as I want. Alright, so now that I have the crystal for it, let's make another prism, and where should I place it? I'm gonna want to place it somewhere in direct sunlight. This should be a pretty good spot. This doesn't look like it's growing at all. Although it is somewhat shielded by the tree over here, so maybe that's not the best place. Let's place it here. What? I don't have enough crystal? Oh, I require 5 for my second one, that's right. You only need 3 for the initial investment, but then you need increasingly more. Alright. So before I reach my sparkle limit, let me craft another firework spell. So let's do a pattern like this. This should get a good amount of coverage over in this general area here. There we go, that seems to have done pretty well. And then to actually see how much of the area I've opened up, I'll do a light spell. It's temporary, but it's good to see how much progress you've made underground if you want to do so immediately. You don't have to wait for the construction of a sight orb or a torch. So they still can't get access to that treasure chest there, which will give me another thimblewood seed, but that's honestly okay. Let's just keep crafting firework spells and see how deep we can get. See what kind of treasures we can unlock. Try a wider pattern this time, see if that helps. Hey, there we go, that seems to have been considerably more effective. Alright, let's have some of the fairies construct some torches down here. These will act as permanent sources of light, which will be useful as we continue our foray into the underground. We can ignore what goes up on the top here now for the most part. Although we might want to build a few houses just to see if we can get some more residents and make things happen a bit more quickly. Yeah, let's build a few more houses on this thimblewood over here. Making sure to keep it from being overbalanced, of course. Don't want it to collapse after all. It's gonna take up most of the fairy's time here, but hopefully this will get in some new residents, which will make all the future tasks I want to complete go that much quicker. Oh dear, see what I mean? This is what happens if you overbalance one side of a tree branch. Probably should have waited for it to grow a little bit longer, but I think it should be safe from collapsing as long as I don't build any more buildings on this side. Oh, I'm starting to reach my sparkle limit. Let's see. Let's cast another light spell. I can't cast more than one at a time, that's right. Well, there should be some ground right around there, so let's do another firework spell. Let's try and go for a little bit more coverage of area. So let's go with this, and then this. So it spreads out as far as possible and then opens up a bunch. That should work pretty well, I think. It'll take a while for me to actually be able to see my progress, however. I'll have to wait for one of the fairies to get down here and actually start constructing that torch. Although actually, I'm not sure if the fairy will actually be able to get to it, because of how closed off this general area is. I might want to dig a little bit more over there. So let's go with a narrow one to make sure I don't send any fireworks up above, and aim it like this. There we go, that definitely should have opened up for the fairies to take, a path for them to take. Of course, at this point, in order to construct any torches, I'm going to need more wood. So let's chop down this let's chop down this tree over here. That should get me a ton of wood. More than I could actually have a need for, but that's fine. Who ever heard of deforestation? That's just a myth after all. Alright, so at this point I guess I'll start to spill the beans, as the proverbial saying goes. So I mentioned before that this here is Frog Fractions 2. If you're not familiar with what Frog Fractions is, I highly recommend googling it and go playing it. It's a completely free game, it's browser-based, and it's a flash-based game, so I guarantee that you're going to be able to run it on your computer. And I just recommend playing it without reading up anything on it. It'll make your experience, your first time through it, all that much more enjoyable. But it's a pretty interesting game that got a lot of people excited, which is why there was a Kickstarter for a sequel. As part of the whole plan that the developer laid out, Frog Fractions 2 would not be released under its own name, but under that of a different game, and he gave various examples of what that title might be. And as it turns out, the game that Frog Fractions 2 was released as is this game here, Glittermitten Grove. So what we're currently trying to do is we're trying to find Frog Fractions 2 within this game. And there are two ways you can do that. You can either dig far below underneath the ground, or continue building your settlements high up into the sky. Either of these will lead you to Frog Fractions 2, although digging underground is by far the easier of the two methods. Speaking of, let's build another torch down here so I can see a little bit further. That'll help see where I've reached underground. Although it probably wouldn't hurt just to fire off some fireworks blindly. Let's try this pattern. That should be somewhat effective, I would hope. Might as well use those sparkles I have after all. Hey, got some free food. My fairies can pick that up after they've done constructing the torch. Alright, now I can see a little bit further. Since it'll take a while to construct another torch, let's cast another light spell right here at the edge of our vision. Ooh, we're pretty far underground. Let's see how far we can take this. Let's do another fireworks spell. Try another one of the far-reaching ones. There we go, now that's the kind of coverage I'm looking for. Craft another torch down here, so I can actually see once the light spell has run out. So yeah, at this point, I hope that all of you who have not yet heard of Frog Fractions have taken the time to have played the original by now, like, you know, paused the video, went to play it, and then resumed watching this. If you didn't, well, that's okay. Not everyone has the time to play whatever game is recommended to them. You're an okay person. You're still going to hell, of course. But you'll probably be going to the ninth circle, you know, the faux heaven, as described by Dante Alighieri. Which is a fairly nice place from what I understand. There's certainly worse places to exist in hell. Alright, they've constructed that next torch. I can't really expand my view with another light spell though. I've run out of food. I'll have to wait for them to collect a little bit more of that. I suppose the plants aren't producing as much because of all the buildings I placed here. So I believe I picked up another seed, didn't I? It's probably worth placing this. Getting a bit more food production. Make sure it's in full view of the light, however, so it doesn't die. That should be a good spot. Alright, let's cast another light spell. Yeah, nothing too exciting yet. I seem to have the most success with this cannon. Hey, there we go. A whole bunch more of the area revealed, and I should be able to do another immediate one. Oh, wait a few seconds more for some more sparkle buildup. Or not, is it nighttime now? My prism should be collecting sparkles. Although it might be oversaturated, I might need to construct another prism actually. Oh, there we go, okay, they were taking the prisms to the sparkle hut, there we go. That said, I still might as well craft another one of these. Alright, so now that I can see again, let's have them craft another torch down here. As far down as they can possibly go. And then let's do another fireworks spell. It might be worth constructing a few more homes. It does take a while for them to make torches and things down here, both due to the relative lack of fairies in the settlement and the long distance. And the lack of fairies is the one thing that I can theoretically fix by adding more homes. I can't really fix the travel distance. There's no teleporters that you can construct, unfortunately. Alright, let's continue delving into the underground, see where it gets us. Might actually be worth expanding out into the sides here. Try some little side shafts, that might actually be worth doing. Oh, I don't have quite enough sparkles for that. There we go. Alright, it would probably help with my food production if I actually used one of these fertilizer spells. That'll give me a bit more long-term viability, so let's do that on this thimblewood here. There we go, a bit of growth and some more food immediately. Good stuff. Still gotta wait for them to construct this other torch down here. Hey, there we go, now I can see just a little bit further. Let's do another fireworks spell. Fire off into the darkness below and light it up. Not actually, unfortunately. It'd be nice if fireworks actually lit up the surrounding area, if only for a little bit. Unfortunately, that's just not how the game works. We're just gonna need to keep constructing more and more torches. Maybe if I can build up the stock of food, I can rely a bit more on light spells. Hey, there we go, now we can see just a little bit better. It would be so much more convenient if the light spell just ran off sparkles rather than food. But I suppose that's there to keep you incentivized to keep up your thimblewood branches and make sure you have a steady supply of food. I'm not sure if there's much I can do to increase the growth of the trees and make them produce more food, other than just making sure they're in direct sunlight. Thankfully, now that it's day, they're growing food a bit more frequently, I think. And I should actually have enough to cast another light spell. And at last, here we are. I was starting to worry that I would need to craft even more fireworks, but yeah. So this is how you enter into Frog Fractions 2. Simply reach far enough under the ground or up in the sky, and you'll see a little door here. And then you click on it, and